could just show it to you. So this book will be out before long. It's called Enjoying Problems, How Entrepreneurs Get to the Next Level. Sorry, all the reflection. So this is a book I've written about problem solving. And really, I'm aiming for a new approach or a better approach, because pretty much if I ask all of you, what's stopping you? If I just ask you right now, what is stopping you? Well, the answer is, you'd say maybe about what? And I'd say whatever. Life, business, friendships, homeschooling, parenting, what's stopping you? And you'd start naming stuff. And what I would tell you is it's not exactly that thing that's stopping you. It's really the problem, the next problem. And the reason you have a problem right now is because your skill level only goes up to that problem. Your skill level limits you to solving problems up to the point you can't solve one. So when you have a skill level problem, there are only two things I can think of to do. One, hire somebody that has that skill, or two, develop the skill. And what I want to do is invite you to really get a vision for loving problems or for enjoying problems. Because if you will grasp that and start taking on an orientation that you really see problems as a good thing, everything changes. And they are good things. And especially once you develop a skill for solving them, the joy of solving them becomes exciting, besides what you model, et cetera, that this ability that you have to take on a problem in a fresh and positive way and generate a solution, in fact, a solution that'll amaze you, maybe amaze your friends, is truly magical. There's nothing like seeing a child going from not learning to learning, from upset to happy, from frustrated to focused, So all these types of things are what I'm concerned about. What I'd like to do is share with you really briefly something I have posted before. And it's the 17 reasons to enjoy problems. So part of the trick, in my humble estimation, is that you really want to learn to enjoy them. That just this mindset alone almost translates to an entirely new life. So let me ask you, if you could put in the chat that you can see this. I need to confirm it. I don't always trust technology since the Dark Lord runs it. But can you see enjoying problems, Fred Ray Lybrand? Number one, problems lead to happiness. So someone can tell me, yeah, good, I can see it. All right, so it must be taping, great. So let me just walk through these and invite you to just think about them. So enjoying problems, number one reason of these 17, I'll go through them fast, is that it leads to happiness. And it really does, because there is a pleasure that comes from relief, from resolving something. If you have a difficulty, but you come in and save the day and it gets worked out, it's actually a joy. In fact, a lot of those of us who are more religious in our orientation or spiritual, we see both the stories in places like the Bible and the stories in our life where God comes in and rescues a difficult situation as a great joy, a great source of happiness. You can call the word what you want to, but an experience of a joyful anticipation, not deferred, not hope deferred, but hope realized. Number two, problems motivate us. Boy, howdy. Have you ever realized that you didn't make a deposit in the bank and you had a check on the way somewhere, and suddenly you're quite motivated to learn all about the banking system? But that's right. These things that happen with your kids, with your spouse, with your friendships and all, those things, as painful and difficult as they are opportunities for your motivation to perk up, to figure out some wisdom. Problems make money. That's actually what most money exchange is about, exchange of value to solve a problem. And so when we purchase things, we're trying to solve problems. When we avoid purchasing things, we think the purchase is going to create a problem because we have less money or something like that. But when you value it, everything changes. So if, when people, someone just write me today that bought our material a while back, and I just realized their daughter is to an age now where she is ready, or at a stage the mom said, I remember going through the I'm trying to get my vision, it's just not working like I want. So going through the emotions course, I'm starting to be distracted. So in this context, this mom remembers going it through for herself, and it made a huge difference. And so the value in it, she's coming back, she says, you own it for life. But going back through that material with her daughter, it was going to be magical, because understanding, a young lady learning how to run her own brain and run her own emotions is absolutely transformative. Not just young ladies, young men, all of us. So, and yet the money is worth it, because you trade off a few bucks then to have children and yourselves that know how to calm and deal with emotional situations. That's a problem-solving game. And so it can make money. And when you do things for people that they pay you for, or any job anybody has, they're paid to solve problems. You solve problems, you keep your job. You make more problems than you solve, you lose your job. You solve more problems than you're paid, they give you a promotion. That's the way it goes. Number 4, problems seek solutions. And this is important because sometimes we are calling something that's just a reality, a fact, a problem, and it's not a problem. If the earth is heating up, you could just as easily say the problem's the sun, but the problem is not a sun. The problem is, the sun's just a piece of reality. The problem is, and then you have to fill that in. But the nature of a problem, just as nature, means it can be solved. It's going to seek a solution. So as you learn to define problems and focus on them, they give rise to solutions. Number 5, problems create jobs. I kind of just explained that. Number 6, problems give us purpose. And I think that's really true. So a lot of life is about finding some purpose. And even in homeschooling, just think about it. Aren't we all involved in homeschooling on some level, because we're trying to solve a problem, fulfill a purpose, getting our kids ready to be happy adults? Things we see in the culture, in mass education, or in other issues in life and government and all kinds of stuff. Aren't we really trying to live to our higher purpose of preparing them to be better influences in this world, or at least be protected, or at least be educated so they can think for themselves in a world where we're increasingly being told how we should think, not much more. Problems create customers. It's true. If people have problems and you have the answer, you'll have customers. Just let them know. 8, problems grow skills. And this is true. It's an opportunity to learn something. So when we have a problem with, I've done this many times. I have a problem that needs to be solved by a spreadsheet issue, and I avoided it for years. And I finally went, why don't I just learn how to do spreadsheets? I found a little course online, maybe in the free one. I can't even remember. And after 5 lessons, I got it. I got how it worked, and then I could just Google for formulas because I didn't want that much of a skill. But it does grow our skills. Problems show us our strengths, and they reveal our weaknesses. So both of those are in play. So when problems come along and we're really good at something, I talked to a young lady this week that she's really good at organizing things, and she got into a job context that wasn't making good use of that strength. Great for her to know. And the nature of problems shows it, because the way you attack a problem is related to a strength. Some people might want to attack a problem by themselves. Others might want to do it with a team of people. Well, obviously one is more relational oriented and team building oriented, and the other is more of a can-do um, rugged individualists. And man, I think we need both as long as they'll get along. Revealing our weaknesses is very clear, especially if our problem solving skill is only up to a certain level. But noticing that you have a weakness is glorious, because one, you can rely on somebody else that might be strong at it, and that blesses them and blesses you. Or, and I've changed my view on this in recent years, or you can just start working on a skill to overcome that weakness. I used to think you just want to serve your strengths, buttress your weaknesses, but your weaknesses are actually what holds you down. So if you've got a weakness at reading well, you're better off working at learning to read. I've had adults that had different forms of dyslexia, and they kind of discovered it. And so they got a vision to work on their reading, and they got better at it. And taking that weakness away was big for their career and life. 11, problems create goals. In fact, this would be one of the big premises that I have, that what you're really trying to do is not soothe the problem, or slop around. You're trying to solve it. And the way I like to get people to solve it is, let's get a goal up here that if we reach it, it'll by its nature take care of the problem. That's the wisdom of what goes into why we can enjoy problems. It's just a goal that you need. It's not just jabbing at it a little bit and hoping it goes away, taking aspirin or whatever. It's you're aiming for something much greater, much higher. And it gives rise to that, because the creativity that kicks in is needed to solve a problem. You have to figure out a goal. These last few, 12, problems show us what we want. And I think that's true. I think when certain problems come along, we become aware of what our real desire is. And sometimes it surprises us, because we can think we want one thing, or we can say we want it, and then the problems are big enough that we go, it's not that important to me. Then again, sometimes problems come along, and that just intensifies our desire to overcome them, because we're clear about what we want. 13, problems create plans, which is right, since you got a goal. 14, problems inspire creativity. No doubt about that. Necessity is the mother of invention, as we say. 15, problems multiply learnings, and that's true. So you're actually, when you're solving problems, you tend to be bringing in something from another area, like when you solved it this way and you learned something there and this thing over here. And these things in combination are a creative process of building a fresh understanding of what you're facing. And the problem itself kind of inspires that. Honestly, one of the famous examples is the invention of the outboard motor. So for boating, so really just the motor, period. Inboard, outboard, doesn't matter. And it was done by a guy named Evan Root. And if I understand the story correctly, it's because he wanted to get across the lake, buy ice cream, get back before it melted to give to his girlfriend. So, problem solved, a whole industry. 15, multiply learning, I said. Problems unite people. You can find that. When a family or a community or whatever unite, let's figure out how to solve this together. A lot of what we have in this world right now is a confusion that people think people are the problem. The people over there are the problem. And the reality is the problem's the problem. And if we perked up and worked on it together, like, okay, let's say border security is a problem. This is in the news right now a good bit. If it's a problem, defining what we want would be a big help, and then uniting to get that to happen. But if we're saying, no, there's not a problem, there's only a problem when your group's in office, not when mine, or, all that stuff. It's busy in the blame game. It's not problem solving. It's irritating. And then let's see, finally, problems exist anyway. Why not enjoy them? Hey, they're coming your way. They're going to happen over and over again. Why not just simply enjoy these things? All right, so there's enough of that fun stuff. Hope that was helpful to you, and something to think about. Jody will probably be coming in just a second. But what we want to do now is take questions. So if you got questions about Yeah. So I'm sorry, I was reading, somebody liked the title of the book. Yeah, I've had people actually read the title of the book and it start changing their lives, which it should. I mean, they're going to happen anyway, y'all. So why not get going with these problems? So, and part of what we're all trying to do is share. Well, here's a problem I'm faced with homeschooling. Any ideas? We have experience. You know, most of the reason we can't solve a problem, besides the skill thing underneath it, is we don't have the knowledge. We just don't simply know how it works. And once we know how something works, we can work it. And so a lot of what we're doing in life is trying to figure out things. And some of this homeschool stuff we're all figuring out together, and have been for some years, and we're getting better. But there's still challenges, as always, with kids. So in families, because they're all unique. So there are always a few different factors going on. So the uniqueness of your kids, the uniqueness of where you live, the curriculum you're using, all of those things are always a part of the challenge. So if you want to join us on YouTube, I said that wrong. If you're on YouTube and you want to join us on Zoom, please use that. And if you need the password, it didn't spread that out right. How does it do that? Trying to join us?
I am. Figure out where this chair goes.
Let's see if that works. All right. So I did get a question we can begin with. Try to pull this up. And see what we can do with this particular question. So you're not in the
I
picture.
can see that now that that screen's up. Hey, everybody.
Yep. Jody's here. All right. So Beth has a problem. I'm going to real quick, Beth, I promise we'll get to you, but I'm going to throw this one up on both spots. And so I got this note this morning from Pooja, and here's what she said. Oh, shoot. I can't do this easily on YouTube. I apologize. So here's what it says. No, I need to be in the
I
picture.
know.
We're kind of too close. You're out of the picture.
Sorry, guys. I think
Or if you move back, you're a little more in it, I think.
you're
So what she said was, my question is about homeschooling a 6-year-old active boy who struggles with focus. I find that many of the homeschooling topics apply to older children and also bigger families. I find very few people address what to do during early years. We have some support from a couple of other families, but by and large, it's 3 of us, husband, wife, child. We have been in a phase where my son is not responding very well to me teaching him. None of us have gone through that phase. He loves to do things. He loves to do things independently, but on his terms. How to direct that independence properly. I'm pretty sure when they want to do things independently, it's always on their terms. That's sort of the idea for sure. I'd appreciate if you'd shed light on this topic, possibly sample structure of homeschool week. If you already have some resources, I'd be happy to check them out. Thanks in advance. Okay, so she's wrestling with the issue of littles, right? Though I think we're at an odd spot because 6, in my mind, is right at the edge of not exactly being a little. So it's kind of the beginning of what we'd say first grade. Reading should be kicking in. This is a place to start, not necessarily, in my mind, math, much beyond math facts if you want to. But they're getting closer to real school, just like they are, in the public domain. So I'm going to break for a second and close my mouth and let Jody talk, because just in general with littles, she can probably tell you how to fit in. In this situation is a little unique because it's got it's one child. So there are dynamics that happen when you have several. So what are you thinking?
Great. Thanks for asking the question. 6-year-old, we don't know if he's new 6, mid 6, whatever it is. Like Fred said, you should be doing phonics with him, teaching him to read. Maybe he already knows how. But if not, get a good phonics program and teach him to read. And a lot of the other things, it's so hard when we don't know y'all and the kids, but there needs to be some structure.
You can pretend to say, if this is a scenario, and then you can lay it out.
There needs to be some structured teaching by you with him each day, because he's not, I wouldn't think he's independent yet at 6. If what to us, a more independent learner would be one that's really solid in reading and can do some of that on his own. But there'd be things like read to him a good bit. I love reading to young ones, and get him to what's called narration. Stop every few minutes of reading, or every few paragraphs, start small, and say, ask him to tell you back what you just read to him, and start, if he's not already writing his letters, get him going on that process. And if he is doing that, then we would say do what's called copy work, and give him some things to just look at and copy into his own writing, whether it's Bible verses or from a book that you're reading him, or really anything, and have him write those out, copied, and work on his handwriting. And then the other thing, just natural learning all day long. It sounds like you're with him, and there's just going to be lots of opportunities just to talk to him about things. There doesn't need to be a ton of formal sit down with him at this stage. And if he is more advanced than I'm thinking, then just feed that, give him, more books to read. And if he's, one of the things before they're actually, when they're doing copy work and not able to write their own stories, sometimes I would let the child tell me a story and let me write it down. And let's, make up a story, or tell me about your time at the zoo today, or whatever it might be. Or let's write a letter to grandmother, and just get him to verbalize it, and you write it down. Is another thing you can do. There's so many things you can do that are fun with a 6-year-old, but some of it needs to be, yes, this is our school time that we're going to do. You're going to sit here with mommy, and we're going to do this together. Then you'll have some things you do by yourself, but I would say a set time and a set thing that you're going to do to get him used to that. It's not a matter of whether he wants to do it or not. It's like, this is our time, and then you can have some time to do this by yourself. Anyway, go ahead.
Sure. How much coffee have you had today? She says she drinks. So I'll reiterate something Jody's getting at, but a little different angle. So I'd start. Yeah, there are curriculums and patterns, and we use Robinson curriculum. You might find sustainable homeschool. Karen Rodriguez, friend of ours, she has stuff. I looked at her stuff today to mention about littles, but when it looks littles, it's like toddlers, 3s, give or take, 2s, 3s, 4s, something like that. Here's the first thing I would beg you to get in mind. Your game with instruction and homeschooling is you're not in a negotiation. So negotiation is where one side asks for something, the other side asks for something. They go back and forth. Two sides have in their mind what they're willing to do and not do. And so you keep playing that game out. I'm willing to spend this much money and this, not this much, etc. And then you come to some agreement. Often they call it a win-win or no deal. And that's where everybody's winning. And you know what? Your child doesn't win if he or she does not get educated. So anything that's compromising getting educated is non-negotiation. And if you have a child, honestly, that you just don't know how to direct and manage and grow, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, you probably need to get out of it. You know, if the answer is, I'm going to keep my kid at home, I'm going to let them do whatever they want to with a terrible attitude and do it all in their way. I mean, you can even call that unschooling, but what you're going to have as a final result won't be near what you want to get with educating a child, because this isn't about raising a happy child. It's about raising a happy adult. And adults are going to be happier. They can read than they can't read if they're in a world where reading's important. So a lot of this game is learning to say, yeah, we're not in a negotiation. I like kids to be happy. I'm not saying that's not good, but that's not the measure. We're not measuring whether they're happy, because what they'll learn is they'll look at their math and they'll go, I don't feel like doing this. Oh, well, so what? And then they'll do it, and they'll do great, you know, and it comes in really handy. So my daughter just got a job. I can tell this much, career change. And in the process, the main principal over the company wanted her to read a certain book and tell him what she thought about it. Well, she reads it that day, and then she writes a very, very nicely written kind of, not analysis, but what she thinks he was wanting her to get, what she's learned in life, et cetera. She interacted with the book. And he wrote her back and said, this is phenomenal. And she was hired within the next day or two.
I didn't know that. I mean, I know she got hired. I didn't know that
Oh,
story.
and I didn't show you that email. I got to show
No.
it to you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd asked her about the book.
That's great.
Yeah, and she learned that skill in homeschool. And she learned it by reading 2 hours a day. And she learned it by taking our writing course and learning to write every day for half an hour. And she learned it in her own efforts of learning about life and things and how it works. So these education is about a skill game. And what you're wanting to do with this young man is we're going to set up school, and we're going to go through a process to help develop some skills that you need. And the essential ones are going to be reading and writing and arithmetic. Now, if he needs to do some stuff independently, I guess you can do that. I don't know what that means. But because I want them all to be independent eventually. But at 6, you know, the bottom line would be, yes, some life lesson stuff, learning, you know, does he help around the house? Does he do chores? You know, does he do stuff? Is he, you know, figured out how to say yes, mother? That would be important. Yes, father. And inside of that, math facts, learning the tweezer dexterity, or the manual dexterity involved in writing, and learning how to form those letters and write. Maybe if it's good enough, little copy work. Maybe again, listening to stories being read, or stopping every few minutes and having them tell back part of it, so he's engaging his mind. Memorization would be a good thing at this age. Poems to remember,
Sure.
right? You know, because kids generally like to memorize at that data stage. So those would be, I think, things in that direction. But in particular, it's going to come down to you being the chief learning officer. And so you're really engaging this child in learning and understanding what the game is. The game is not, we're not negotiating with you. He's not going to get to do that with school and work throughout his life. I mean, he may try to, and that'd be great. Maybe he's going to be a negotiator. Fine. But most of us at some point just have to figure it out. You know, honestly, I've got to get my driver's license renewed, and I found out that I can't get an appointment for like 4 months, and it expires in 2 weeks. And I can't find any way around it, except to go at maybe 4 in the morning and get in line and hope I get one of the 4 or 5 slots they leave open every day, which maybe is what I have to do. But I'd love to negotiate with the Texas, you know, Department of Public Safety, but that's just not a negotiation. I just have to figure out how it works and work it. And I'd say very much with our kiddos sometimes, it's just the Department of Public Safety. We're not in a negotiation. We are in the process of you understanding how this works, and we giving you the equipment and time and opportunity and motivation and what you need for your blood sugar or whatever else to get that stuff done, because we're getting you ready for a big old world that you're going to need some skills for. Phew, I'm through. What do you
If
want to
there's
add?
anything more specific that you want to just, thanks for emailing us. Email us again and we can continue this discussion if needed.
Yeah. So Beth says, my problem is motivating my child, 11, to do their work, chores, schoolwork, copy work in a timely fashion. I'm just letting that soak because I'm thinking, so are they, do they eventually always do it? I will get to that in a second. All right. She procrastinates so much and my job becomes chief nagging officer. I like that. Not pleasant and very draining. It scares me because I wonder how she will get things done as an adult. And hi, Jody. All right. So this is a subject we've thought about a good bit and faced in our own lives. But so is this a boy or girl? She, daughter?
Yeah.
So right.
11 years old.
Yeah. So we got a daughter who doesn't do their work, chore, school, copy work on time, right? So she takes a long time. And it seems like the process is this. Mom assigns the task. The child understands the task. The child does not start on the task. Mother nags. The child does some. Mother nags more. Child does some more, and keeps repeating the nag do cycle or the nag resist cycle until it's done. Right? I don't know, Beth, if you want to respond, but I'm guessing that's going to be pretty close to the story. Yeah, exactly. So there. Yeah, so here you are, part of the process of she getting things done. Now, I'm about to put together a little course on procrastination, and what I'm figured out, and this will not be, you will not hear this on any news outlets, but there's not actually such thing as procrastination. It's not even a thing. It could be called planning because you're delaying. What we have in our head is there's something we want to do and we're not doing it, and that's procrastination. There's something we should do and we're not doing it, and that's procrastination. That's actually not procrastination. It's actually just not doing it. Procrastination is a fiction that you have in your head that you're going to do something, or you want to do something you don't want to do. The problem here isn't procrastination. The problem is she doesn't want to do it. That's how it is. And so all you need to do as a mom is figure out, how do I get her to want to do it? Now, ideally, she'll want to embrace it in her heart. But in my experience, discipline works on the outside. You discipline somebody, and then they learn to be disciplined on the inside. They own it for themselves. All of my kids work in their yard. It's amazing. Their yard. They own a house. They work in their yard. Every one of them, they work in their yard. Didn't work in my yard, not without chief nagging officer stuff, right? So the way it works is your daughter doesn't want to do it. And if you raise the nagging level up to a proper level, then she wants to do it, at least to hush you up. Is that fair? Okay. So here's what you want to do. You want to start being a better student of human nature. So the reason people do stuff is because it feels good to them. Obviously, your daughter thinks doing chores, schoolwork, and copy work in a timely fashion is doesn't feel good. It feels bad. And then your nagging either makes her feel, either she's happy you're nagging and she won, or your nagging is so painful she wants you to shut up, if I can be rude and say those words. And you do that and she gets relief. So relief feels good. So it's a pattern to constantly go through life being nagged. What tends to work better with people is to try to find out what motivates them internally. Like talking to her, if I were talking to her, I'd say, so how can we get you to want to do this stuff? You obviously don't want to, and everybody else does it, and you're going to have to do it all your life. In fact, I told my kids, hey, we're going to figure this out because you're going to do this. I just don't know how much pain we're all going to go through, but it'll be done. This is not even a debate. It will happen. And you're really at the edge of wanting this to happen by 11, because when she gets about 14, that could be a mess. So get after it. And here's what you want to know. People do things to feel good. And what feels good to them is getting something they want or getting away from something they don't want, right? So you move towards good. This would be carrot. And you move away from bad. This would be carrot used as a stick. And so that's the game. And so if you look at this and I study, with us, we tried to build it into the system. So chores, schoolwork, copy work, etc. Whatever they're doing, they had school. And school is for a particular point of the day or a period in the day. And the subjects were broken down. And if they did what was expected of them within that period of time, they were golden. And then they could be through a school and enjoy their day, as it were. Or if they didn't get their work done, then they had to do work in the afternoon, take a break and have lunch and stuff. Then they'd have to go back and do more. And generally, once they figure that game out, it's too painful on them to do work all day long. There's a reward. In particular, what I would be prone to do is I'd narrow down to one thing. So one thing in schoolwork. I don't know any of this. So Beth, if you want to tell me some more, or come on. I don't know why I can't see they're usually up top, the participants. It'll work. Tell me more, I'd know, but I would probably start with one area and just say, I'll just pick on reading. So I'd say, all right, you're going to read, let's say you got an hour of reading a day. And here's the way we're going to do it. I'm just making up this, or let's say 2 hours. If you do your 2 hours of reading every day and then debrief it with me, just get your reading done, then you get Friday off. If you don't get your reading done, you have to work in the afternoons. If you don't get it done without nagging, I'd say it that way. If you get reading done without nagging, you get Fridays off. If you don't get your reading done without nagging, you're going to have to get nagged on Friday too. So that's simple, and it's just an experiment. So we're just going to try it for 2 weeks and see how it goes. And what'll happen is you'll learn from it. You may have to escalate it, change it, but something as simple as that kind of gives her, it's sort of like acting, where actors always say, well, what's my motive, in a scene? What am I trying to get to? What's driving me? Well, yeah, that's this. And here's the fun thing about reading. If you give her decent literature, sometimes they even get into it and then discover while they're reading, because they read enough, that they really enjoyed it. And so then a leverage begins to change in the system. What do you think?
Well, I'm thinking a little tougher, 11-year-old. I would have the discussion. Hey, this is our pattern. The pattern Fred just went through that you said, yes, exactly. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not. I don't want to be the cheap nagger, or I don't want you to think that life is about you just procrastinate all day and with chores or anything, because you're not going to do well if you ever have to go into school or a job or college, anything. We're not going to do it anymore. You're 11. Sorry that I've let you do this. My fault. The changes now, though.
Yeah. So let me add something. And I see some more notes now. I had to scroll. So I'll read this in a sec. But I was saying one area, because what I've found is if I conquer one area, then the gig's up. We know you can do it. And then we expand it to another and another. So she wrote back, girl, exactly, to something. But she sometimes just gets to the point of sitting in a chair at the table and just daydreaming. Won't even pick up a pencil. My husband says that she just has to sit there until she does the work. I love this. We're going to get this done. The question is how much pain we're going to go through exactly. How can I motivate you to do this? That my question. This is great. If you get the reading done without nagging, you get Friday off. Yeah. So you get all that. So let me go back to this piece of, yeah, I totally sympathize, yay, even empathize with your husband's thought. If she can just sit there and get it done. I've done that with like food, with a child. Yeah, you just sit there till you eat it. But then I started wising up a little bit. I'm not saying your husband's otherwise. It's the problem of just trying to figure out these little creatures. And because that would have worked on me, probably will work on your husband too, which totally makes sense. But what I found is being able to give them a little more control instead of that kind of box, like it's your choice. Your choice is you can do it now, or you can do it now and then you have to do it later and then you have to do it later, something like that. But that's going to be your choice. When we put them in you've got to do it no matter what, we've taken choice away. And so one of their options is just to fight. It's like King of the Hill. I'll just take you down the hill. I'll die on it. As God is my witness, I'll never go hungry again. Some Scarlett O'Hara. I'm defying God on this one. So in my experience, if you lay it out to give them a little control, so you got a limited period of time to do it, get it done. If you don't get it done in that period of time, then I'm going to get to nag you and you're going to do it later. Same with food. If they don't want to eat the food, you want them to try it. This can be brutal. It's not really brutal at all. But I think what's brutal is you're trying to get your child to try something you made, some glazed carrot dish, who cares? And they don't want it, right? And they're old enough to have some maturity, won't even try it. The answer is not to give them Twinkies, right? With Cool Whip. That's not the answer. That's not nutritional either. So what I would be proud to do is something like that is, look, this is not a game. This is just, all you have to do is try it. And let's say they bow up, well, I say, okay, tell you what, we'll save it for you. And then that's going to be what you try at the next meal. As soon as you try it, we'll give you the rest of the meal. And we could do that over and over. No human is so addled that they wouldn't figure out, okay, I'll try it. And then I hate it. Read Green Eggs and Ham to them. That's probably what I do. I'd just read that and then say, now try it. It's Green Eggs and Ham. Let's rename it. So that's the idea in terms of how the game works. What are you thinking? You wrote something down.
Well, right. With the daydreaming, let's say that she just spaces out, daydreams, whatever. That's when we've talked before about, I think that the good use of a timer is set the timer for 10 minutes, 15, whatever. Let's see how much work you get done on your math, reading, whatever subject it is. Doesn't matter what subject it is. And before the timer goes off, she actually has to show you what she got done. And we reset the timer, and it just, those. Yeah,
it's a big deal. So setting time, even time on reading, so they know. I can imagine I probably did this with the kids that, if they're, I don't want them to sit there and daydream. That's not what we're in. It's not daydreaming class. When I taught writing, I had some kid looking up. I had a group of kids in there teaching them all writing, and he was looking up. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm thinking." I said, "What about?" He said, "I'm thinking about what to write. Everybody's supposed to be writing." I said, "This isn't a thinking class. This is a writing class. If you want a thinking class, talk to your parents and pay me, and I'll do a thinking class. I don't mind doing that, but that's not this one. This one is writing, not thinking." So there's that thing. But I can imagine, if you're going to sit there and daydream, you could daydream while you're at least sweeping the back porch. My goodness, that would be much more productive than you sitting there gazing up in the clouds and drooling out of the left side of your face or whatever's going on. So right. Anyway,
no, I like that.
What helped recently, Sarah throws in, what helped recently with motivating my 7-year-old boy was figuring out his love language. Physical touch, patting his back, holding his hand, hugging is his love, filling up his love tank. If you're familiar with the love language stuff, is full and is more motivated for schoolwork and chores. I read the book for my marriage, and I'm pleased it helped other relationships in life too. Just wanted to share. Excellent. And look, don't limit it to that theory. there may be 700 love languages. I don't know. But there are things that connect better for humans that they enjoy and they appreciate about the moment and from you. Commonly, it's going to be some kind of affirmation. Sometimes it's words, sometimes it's patting. Both those feel affirming to a human being. Sometimes it could be gifts. Sometimes it could be just actually listening. I don't know if there's a listening language. A lot of people like to be, heard, like to engage. And
that the principle goes along with
exactly.
punishments and rewards. Also, you've got to find out what motivates that child. You might offer some reward to one kid and they're ecstatic about it, and the other is like, whatever, I don't care. Same with the punishment. Some are like, I don't care if I have to go to my room. That's a pretty fun place to go.
Yeah.
So.
Sarah adds, and then rewarding them get their work done cheerfully too. And I think this is really important. I remember years ago, we were helping a couple and the son never liked any food. And I said, well, let's get a vision for what you want. And she said, oh, I'd love him to say, oh boy, one of my favorites, and be excited about it. And about 2 days later, we'd set up a game plan, some reward, some system. And he out of the blue said, oh boy, one of my favorites. And she had forgotten our whole process and she was just shocked. And when I wonder what that food is, and it wasn't the food, it was him taking on a better disposition, without a doubt. So let's see. Patrick threw out, what a good motivator for a delightful 13-year-old boy, smart, intelligent, but not motivated to sit down and finish his daily school. What is a good motivator? Excuse me, Patrick said. So a good motivator is going to be something unique to him, Patrick. That's going to be part of the key, right? So trying to figure out, he's delightful, he's smart, he's intelligent, but not motivated to sit down and finish his daily schoolwork. If he's not motivated to finish it, then finishing doesn't have a reward to it. So chances are, I don't know, you can type here, but Patrick, does he have a time limit, or is he just going to have to sit there until he gets it done? Because for some reason they get in their mind it's more painful to do it than not do it. I think we adults do that with taxes, don't we? We just don't want to do them. We're not honest about it and don't plan a good game. So finding something that motivates him would be crucial. So Patrick throws out, we have a family of 7 boys and 4 girls, challenging to keep track of everyone. Ooh. It's such a blessing. Now, what we did find is there were things that would motivate all the kids. And that's how we thought about it. So like starting school at 7:30 a.m. when we started, the trick was you couldn't start school until everybody was at the desk. It just could not be done. And so they got each other up. There are other things that we've had like that if they pull together and get something done, we had 2 that if they would solve their own conflicts, for example, together, they'd get a day off a month if they did it for a month, something like that. So all I'm getting at is some of this with motivation could be the other brothers should be motivating them. And so if we all, like I'd say it this simply, honestly, y'all can't finish school until everybody finishes school. Sorry. Because if you got 7 brothers and you got this one, I bet those brothers will sit down, like I used to get my kids, sit down and explain to him that he's not running this system. But there's probably some way in there that may be too much, but even if it were 30 minutes or something, or maybe the brothers have to rotate on who has to sit by this boy while he finishes school. They're going to get motivated to help you in the system. And somehow he's, though delightful, right? Smart, intelligent, but not motivated to sit out and finish his daily schoolwork. That's what you want to figure out. What would it take for you to be motivated to finish it? And some of it is what's going to happen afterwards that'll be good. And that could be TV time, free time, whatever else. Maybe he needs more work. Maybe he's bored. I don't know. But I'd look for what motivates him internally. And then I look at the environment and say, how can we encourage it? And I think, honestly, I just have a meeting. If you got 7 guys, sit down. Let's have a meeting. Let's say the 13-year-old's name is Bob. We have a Bob challenge. Bob doesn't like to get his work done. Ideas. How can we get this to happen? If you'd like to, sit down with Bob first and see if he comes up with his own solution. But I bet if the whole group talks about it and comes up with a game plan, I bet it's cured. I would absolutely bet it's cured. And I bet you won't have problems with the others. But I could be wrong. It's an experiment. It's working so well now. I give due time. Oh, I'm getting an update from Ilya. Hello, Fred and Jody. It's been a long while since I haven't been able to attend your live. So happy you're here. I've been slowly implementing your advice on time assignments for the kids. It's working so well. Now I give due time and deadlines for my kids and walk away. Like, you need to finish typing and turn in your essay, rough draft by 4 p.m. and walk away. And it seems to work. That's awesome. She says, new question. My kiddo is almost 7, very imaginative, sweet child. It's hard for this kind to do a long amount of work. This kid, excuse me. Yeah, I got the wrong glasses on. Just get overwhelmed after 30 minutes of copy work or
Math page.
yeah, math page. Yeah, so 30 minutes is a pretty good length of time, even in the studies, 25 minutes and a 5-minute break. So you might break them into other kind of assignments, or segments. Just get into a more focused, narrow time. I think you'd be golden.
Because he could do 30 minutes of math, take a break, either a physical break, like go exercise a little bit, jump around, whatever, or a different subject, and then come back to math. There's no problem with that. And he's just, 7's young and is a boy. So.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a last one. Your thoughts on ADHD. Do you think accommodations are appropriate? Sorry, I can't. Do you think accommodations are appropriate, or do you expect the child to rise to the challenge? Maybe some combo. Well, it depends on what the accommodations are. So I'm pretty confident I have this ADHD. I had as a kid, they would make me go run around the house sometimes, often. They would say your motor's running. That meant be quiet. So I know I was quite exhausting everybody. Certainly never went to sleep before anybody. If anybody was awake in the house, distractibility was always a problem. I had to learn to sit on the front row in school, so I just wouldn't be distracted by people. And so learning how to work with it is important. I think the trick, it just depends on what they're dealing with, what their IQ is, what the nature of the subject they're on. But for the most part, what everyone has to do is learn to work with whatever they've got. So, if you're short, we could make accommodations and make people move. I do this in church all the time. I always sit behind somebody that's tall. Well, I've just learned how to not do that, or to step to the side or something like that. So with focus with a child, what they're wanting to do is learn how to actually get focused. And that is going to involve, we have a little course on focus that goes with this, but it's going to be a new mindset. So what you're not trying to do is teach them to concentrate and be able to stare at something forever, just to recognize this is a human thing. And we all do it. When you drive, if you stare at the road, you'll wreck because you won't see things coming from the side and whatever else. Well, you may not wreck, but you'll drive funny for sure. But the nature of it is, what you're trying to do with focus is you come back around to it, and you come back around to it. And so part of what you're wanting to help him learn to do is to realize that this distractibility is part of the game, and you just got to bring yourself back to it. And you got to bring yourself back to it. And if they can learn to do that, I know there's meds and other things going on, but they still just simply have to learn. They've got to come up with a way that works with their body, their game. Same with our minds. If you're dyslexic, I remember Jody's dad and I were talking one day, and he said, I never can keep PM and AM straight, and grown fella, and we're newly married. And I'd taught a memory course, which we have available too. And I thought about it, and I went back to him and said, Donald, it seems to me that A comes before P and morning comes before night. So if you think AM is morning, A before P, and P is night, past morning. He told me some bit later, he said that cured it. So there he is figuring out how, with the way his brain works, coming up with a solution. I'd say the same thing with ADHD. We've got a similar challenge that we've still got to figure out how to get the work done, how to get focused, how to keep coming back on the issue. The other thing to learn about focus is getting them more narrowly understand, what are you trying to get to and where are you? So even with ADHD, if we're trying to get to problem 5 and you're on problem 1, and you've got that timer for how long it can be, it can even be a game. How quickly can you get these done? And that can engage some micro focus as they learn to do it. But a lot of that is that learning of how to direct attention. But by the same token, I would really encourage you not to be frustrated if they get their work done, but it has a lot of interruptions going on. In other words, not daydreaming, but a sound over here or something over there, or sometimes they want to distract each other. So Jody used to put up a big board between the kid that wanted to work and the one that wanted to distract, the ADHD kid. And that works. So, learning to figure out your environment. You might also try playing some white noise in the background. You can do that on a phone. You try brown noise or pink noise, but in general, this white noise. I'll do it with a babbling brook. I'll ask the machine up there that begins with A to play a babbling brook, and I'll have that in the background. And some of that steadiness will tend to help me focus. But all these things are things you're going to have to learn about: how to set goals, how to bring himself around, how to focus. And it's just not going to be as easy. But this is true for all of us, just different things. It's just not going to be as easy to do something, throw a ball, a C, we get tools and things that go with it. So that's part of the challenge, and something we can talk about a good bit more down the road. But that, I hope, is a good start. All right, we're about 3 minutes over. You got anything else you want to add from all this?
No, I think we're on a good path here. We've talked so much in the past. You can go back and listen to some of the other ones if you're new to this, because we've got a lot of things in there about rewards and just motivating a kid. And, a lot of times when we set up a game plan with punishment and reward type situation, it's only for a period of time to train the child, and just things like they need to know what you expect from them, and setting up systems. And also, if you are new to it, great. We're glad you're here. And there's a lot of information from the past videos.
Yeah, Jody said something really important then. One of the most powerful things you ever can do with your child is to clarify what you expect. You'll be shocked how often you say, what are you thinking? Like we're talking about the nagging thing. What do you think I expect? Because the way it looks is you expect me ask you, you not do it, I nag you until you do it. And what I'm really expecting is you doing it. You have this time frame, get it done, it's done, and you get to go do something you enjoy more, and you've learned, and I haven't had a nag. Is that what you were thinking? Or you can ask them, you'll be shocked. A lot of times kids just simply don't know what you want. And by the way, this works with employment too. Your employees, they don't know what you want. Or you're sitting there going, I don't know what the boss wants. And so we're all making up stuff, and no wonder we're all irritated. Anyway, have an amazing weekend, and look forward to